Hey everyone, and welcome back. In today's video, I will be discussing how I am training for my first marathon. If you would like a little bit of backstory, you can go watch my last video where I discuss my running history and why I chose the marathon to run next. I will put a link in the description below. Continuing on from last week's video, I knew that I needed to start training for this marathon as well as looking for an actual race to run. I started looking online, and it seemed that the majority of programs lasted anywhere between 12 and 18 weeks. I didn't really think that that was going to be a sufficient amount of time for me, considering I wasn't running in the past months leading up to this point. So I knew I was going to need a little bit longer time just so I could get my legs and body used to running again. I also was struggling to find marathons in Texas during this time frame, because that would have put me towards the end of summer when everything is really hot still. So I started looking at my travel schedule, and I knew I was going to be in Mexico City towards the end of the summer. I started looking around Mexico, and it turned out that the Mexico City Marathon was going to be August 25th. Once I found that marathon, I went ahead and I plugged it into a calculator online, and from the day that I was going to start training until that marathon was going to be 28 weeks. For me, that was a pretty ideal amount of time, in my opinion, to train up for the marathon, so I went ahead and put that one on the schedule. I was super happy to get that race on the calendar, but I also knew that I was going to have about 8 weeks that I didn't have anything that was planned, although I still wanted to be running during that time. I started looking around at local events to see if there was going to be anything that was a shorter distance that I could kind of train for. This was going to serve the purpose of two things. One, it was going to help get my body accustomed to running, especially getting up into high mileage, as well as two, it was going to give me a good gauge for the marathon prep. When I started looking online, I found the Austin Statesman Cap 10K that was going to be going on April 7th. That was exactly 8 weeks from when I was going to be starting the prep, and it as well pretty much fell into a perfect timeline for me. Throughout my previous videos, I've only referred to my training as marathon prep. One could make the argument that right now I'm only training for a 10K that leads into marathon prep. However, I don't see it that way. I look at it as right now I'm currently in phase one, where I'm building up a good base, getting my fitness higher, and then I'll use the results from the 10K going into phase two as a way to gauge where my fitness is at and plan my paces for my speed workouts. For my phase one training, I decided to use the Hal Higdon intermediate 10K plan. I went with this plan after reviewing it because I felt very confident in my ability to complete the plan without overreaching in terms of the weekly mileage that are required. As you can see, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday are going to be easy runs. Wednesday is going to be a speed work day, whether that's a tempo run or interval runs. And then Friday is a rest day. Saturday is 60 minutes of cross training. And then Sunday is going to be the long, easy run to end the week. Before I go over my training plan for phase two, I just want to talk to y'all about how not all the time your workouts are going to go as planned. For example, this past week, I was having struggles in the early sessions on Monday and Tuesday of feeling like I was running easy. The runs felt a lot harder than I thought they should have been for the pace I was running. And then on Wednesday, I had the tempo run that was scheduled for 10 minutes easy warm up, 20 minutes at 7:54 pace, and then 10 minutes of an easy cool down. I decided to run it on a treadmill, that way I could make sure I could maintain that 7:54 pace throughout the entire 20 minutes. And I'm glad I did, because if I would have been outside, the truth is I probably wouldn't have been able to maintain that pace. Within the first few minutes of being within that 20-minute window of the actual speed work, I could tell it was going to be pretty rough on me. It was going to be a little bit hard. Thankfully, I got through it. I'm glad I got through it because, it showed me like, hey, I can do it, but it still wasn't, a confidence booster in my mind. Generally, I look at my Wednesday workouts as a confidence booster. It really helps me see where my current level of fitness is at, but that one kind of had a negative effect on me. And then the following day, I had a 3-mile easy run on that Thursday, and I woke up and the weather just wasn't good. It was, it was pretty cold that morning, so I was like, well, let me see what tomorrow's going to be like. So I looked at it, and it's supposed to be a pretty nice day, and what I ended up doing was I swapped the days because that Friday was supposed to be a rest day, so I just swapped the rest day for the 3-miler, took my rest day on Thursday, and it turned out to be a lot better of a run. And then on Sunday, I had a 6-mile run. It was a really good run. I ran half of the 10K route just to kind of like see where some of the hills were and how they felt, and I felt really good after that run. But I say this as, an example of, just because you didn't have like a great start to your week or even like a great ending to the week, it doesn't mean that that's where your current fitness lies. I was very happy after that Friday 3-miler and very happy after that Sunday 6-mile run, even though like the first half of the week didn't go nearly as planned. And that's just part of it. And I think that's with all things that are fitness related, is that just some weeks, some days, there's certain periods of times that just aren't going to go as you would hope. And that's okay. It's part of it. We just got to get through that because there's good things that are coming. Another couple things I want to talk about is, no, I'm not a professional runner by any means. And for me, I'm trying to fall in love with running. And in order to do that, I have to put myself in positions to actually enjoy the run. And I say this as using that Thursday workout that I swapped with the rest day as an example, is because I knew if I would have took that Thursday workout, I most likely wouldn't have enjoyed it. I probably would have added on to the feeling I already had of not doing well that week from the previous workouts. So, I knew like, hey, if I'm going to fall in love with running, if I'm going to really enjoy this run, I've got to put myself in the positions to enjoy it. And that's what I did. So I swapped the days. And I know in phase 2 of the training, I'm going to have a lot of days that I'm actually going to probably end up swapping around throughout the training. I'm getting married in May. So that'll be like around, I think, week 8 or so of the training block. And then after the wedding, I've got the honeymoon for a week. And then about a month later, I'm going on a family vacation for about a week. So I'll be traveling, I'll be doing different things. And I know my running isn't going to be perfect during those times. And I'm completely okay with that. For me, running's not my whole identity by any means. Like, I'm trying to get to enjoy it. I'm taking my training seriously. I am excited for this marathon, but my whole world doesn't just revolve around running. And I think that for anyone that wants to really enjoy the process, if you're not being paid as a professional athlete, don't feel like you have to hit every single workout exactly as it is in your plan. Make those adjustments that work best for you. There's not any program that can just be one size fits all. So even the things I'm saying with my training, they may not be ideal for you, but use what you can and make it work for whatever's best for you. That's how you're going to enjoy the running the most that you can, in my opinion. Now, with that being said, let's start looking over how I'm going to be training for phase 2 of this marathon prep. I got my phase 2 training from a book called How to Run Like a Pro, Even If You're Slow. I really enjoyed this book. I started reading more running books or running related books since I decided to run this marathon. That way I could try to get some tips out of them and learn some fundamentals that I should probably know going into this marathon prep. But some of the concepts that stuck out to me in this book was that even if you aren't a pro runner, you can still apply some of the fundamentals that they do in order to get similar results. For example, just because you're not a pro runner doesn't mean you can't try to recover like a pro runner, whether that's through sleep or through your nutrition. Another concept is following the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule is essentially 80% of your running throughout the week is supposed to be super easy, while the other 20% is when you're actually doing your main speed workouts. I think for the majority of people that are runners, they find a hard time staying within that 80-20 rule, and a lot of their runs are going to be more on that faster pace when they really should be going a little bit slower or a lot slower. So as you can see here, the weekly breakdown of the training for phase 2 is going to be a rest day on Monday. Tuesdays and Fridays are going to be the workouts of the week. So that can either consist of a fartlek run, an interval run, hill sprints, fast finishes, tempo runs, different things that are in there. And then Wednesday and Saturday are either going to be an easy run or cross training. Thursday is going to be an easy run, and then Sunday is another easy run that's going to be longer. Now, when you look at this program, it could be pretty easy to say that I'm not really following the 80-20 rule, considering I'm running 6 days out of the week, and 2 of those days are going to be speed workouts. That math doesn't really make sense for being 80-20. However, one of the concepts in the book is that to not look at the number of days or the amount of mileage you're running per week, but to actually look at the amount of time you're going to be on your feet running that week. A way to compare this to a pro athlete is if you look at a pro athlete's mileage, they might average somewhere around 100 miles per week. But whenever they go for a 10-mile easy run, they might be able to do that in an hour, where a average runner, their hour easy runs could be somewhere around 5-6 miles. So just because they're running a lot further than you, they're running a lot less in terms of time. So that's why it's important to kind of look at like how much time you're spending on feet in that 80-20 ratio as compared to how many mileage or how many days per week that you're doing. In my previous videos, I have mentioned that I still am doing weightlifting while running. Throughout phase 1 and 2, I still plan to work out in the gym as much as I can. However, I know the closer I get to the marathon race, the more that volume in the gym will come down. I've already had to change my training up just a little bit in terms of the number of sets that I do in the gym. I've decreased that just a little bit. But as I said, I know it's gonna come down a little bit more as the training goes on. I wanna thank you for making it this far into the video. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below in the comments. And you can show your support by liking and subscribing for future content in the near future. Thank you.